Thanks everyone for being here.
Recording.
The first item on the agenda is the opportunity for public testimony, and we have one member of the public here. So staff will go ahead and keep time. Looks like you have 2 minutes, so the floor is yours.
Hello, my name is Linda Gordon, and I'm a parent with 2 children at Sunset High School. And basically, I'm here to advocate for refurbishing the auditorium at Sunset High School. And we have a little parent committee that started of parents of performing arts students, and we sent a letter in the fall. So I hope you're somewhat aware of it, and I just wanted to give you an update of what we've been doing on behalf of Sunset High School, but also if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. And just again, urge you how important that facility is to so many students at Sunset High School. About over 20% of the student body at Sunset is in the performing arts in some manner. The school auditorium is used by everyone, and it has never been. The original seats are there, and although some small fixes have taken place over the years, it really does need a wholesale refurbishment. It's the only auditorium in the district that does not have climate control. So what we're hoping your committee with your remaining funds would consider installing that climate control, but also consider seat replacement. So we've started a little group raising money because not only, there's no way our group can pay for air conditioning, nor should we. But the sound system is not reliable, which is the cornerstone of performing arts, is hearing the singing and the acting and the music. So we're working on raising funds. We've raised $37,000 so far. Which is pretty good considering the average gift is about $100, $150. So we're working really hard. The parent-teacher organization chipped in $10,000 PTO, and then our Mary Poppins musical was very successful last spring, and we were able to chip in $10,000 right there. But we have a long way to go. Our goal for the sound only is about $50,000. We've written a grant to the Reeser Foundation, and we're awaiting word on that, but it's slow going. So I guess my pitch is, if you are doing some auditorium improvements at Sunset, which I hear you are, by your handout in the packet, I truly feel that climate control is essential at Sunset High School. And I would think this is the best opportunity to pay for it now with the remaining bond funds. So I urge you to look at it. It is a safety issue because it gets incredibly hot in the fall and also in the summer. Does anybody have any questions for me for a group? So far we've raised over $37,000. We're waiting to hear on the Reeser grant. We've asked them for $50,000. Our goal is $170,000, but our main goal is to improve the sound system. And we're also reaching out to local Boy Scout groups if they want to refurbish the dressing rooms for us. We're taking it at all angles. But as far as for overall usage of that facility, that climate control is essential. I mean, for example, we just did our fall play and people were bringing blankets to the show because it's cold in there for 3 hours, okay? And I work for Portland Public Schools as a secretary, and I can tell you how demoralizing it is when you work in a facility that is not up to code and up to standard. And I think it would mean a great deal to the Sunset community, especially the performing arts, if an investment would be made on their behalf. So.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Anything else?
Taking the time to come.
Thank you.
Did we ask questions?
Yeah.
Sorry, have you prepared a list of priorities? I mean, you mentioned a number of things, and so has that been documented and sent on?
Oh, yeah, and we had sent a letter, I believe in September, to this committee, and I'd be happy to resend that. And we didn't even know that we could come to these meetings till a few weeks ago.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
When you go through the list, obviously, we all have a great list, but we
Yeah.
would like to have a list that defines the priorities for example,
Right.
is the air conditioning the most important, or is the sound? So I think that would be helpful if you could list them out in the order that you think are from your group, which
Right. Absolutely. We felt, and I'll send that on, and Kathy Campbell, who's been working with facilities, she's dynamite gal, former Nike finance executive. She won't be here tonight. We felt that our parent capital campaign could knock the sound portion out ourselves. And we were more than willing to do that. Taking proceeds from the efforts of the play, writing grants, asking parents, etc. But our number one priority is that climate control. I mean, it's to the point where grandmas won't even come to the show because it's just too hot and they can't sit through it. And that's not what we want for a school district and for a community. People bringing blankets, people leaving mid-show because it's too hot in there, disrupting. So climate control is the number one thing. We're trying to get by with the seating. They've been trying to do some fixes on that. But climate control, and that's something that's out of reach for the parent community. But we are willing to do the other fixes that we feel we can do for the school.
That list would be helpful, so if you could.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we're ready to move on to the
Okay,
program status.
great. All right, good evening. You have the bond status report. We sent it out, and we will go through it, and I'll just hit some highlights, but please stop me for questions there. Again, not a lot of changes, mostly positive things happening in the program, and the new changes are marked in red there as well. So as far as the reserves, still healthy. We've just a couple minor changes there in reserves that we can talk about a little bit later there as well. Page 3 has our map. This is our new map for 2018. So we've retired our historic record of 2017, and this is showing the work going forward for this program in 2018. It also includes some of the design work we're doing this year for construction in 2019. Questions on that? No? Okay. All right. Moving to the next slide, as far as the overall perspective, again, no change here as well on this one. There, kind of in the comments there, Hazeldale is proceeding well on schedule. We're having a few issues now we're working through with the arrival of the steel on the site, but at the timestamp of this report, they're doing well. And we're working with them on their schedule to get them back to where they need to be as well. Nothing of great concern at this point in the project. And then also bid documents for William Walker are expected to be released at the end of this month, shortly. Right? This week will be out. Slide 5 to the budget perspective. Again, no change here, still reflecting that red under Aloha High School, but that project is done. That was related to the additional work that we encountered with the plumbing and the foundation work. On to the schedule perspective, you see a couple of changes here, new things as well, progressing there as we have working on that occupancy at Aloha High School reflected here. And then also moving forward, Five Oaks and William Walker as we go through the design, the approval cycle on those two projects. They are moving forward well. Page 7, our participation. We've got about a plus 0.1 on the consultant, so continue to grow in that area. And then moving on to the financial summary pages. No change until you get to page 10. And you see a couple of changes there in contingency under the district-wide communication system. We've made, basically as we go forward with that and we're building the communication systems, we identified the need to look at our electrical across the schools to accept that equipment better as well. So we've made an investment in here to move forward with a study to look at those electrical needs across the district. Anybody want to add to that?
Yeah, it's just the new telephone system that we installed for this project is an IP-based telephone system. So with that, it's internet-based. So if you lose power to your network infrastructure in the building, you lose telephone service. So this is to kind of help get our arms around how our main data frames are hooked up to generators or not, and how that integrates with the telephone system, so we know what kind of upgrades we need to pursue in the future.
Are you guys going to have to buy some UPSs or?
So we do have UPSs, and that was part of the project. The problem is more related to extended outages, because the UPS doesn't last particularly long.
No.
It's more meant to condition the power until a generator kicks on, but some schools don't have generators yet, so just looking at kind of scoping that.
Right. And then the other piece there is Hazeldale on the replacement project there, so 118. This was a condition of our land use approval there to put some of the electrical work underground on the site and into as it supports the local neighborhood as well. So small expenditure there, contingency to meet that requirement as well. Across that, going to page 11, that adds up to a net change in the entire program there of $222,000 for the month. All right. And then as far as the rest of the report, there is nothing else that has changed in the piece there. And so unless you have questions on those, we'll just go to the Hazeldale on the back page there. Some great pictures going up. And these are a little bit dated. I wish we had some for the, do we have it? Can we bring it up? Is it, Karen, or is it not connected? Okay, all right. So just the last 2 weeks, the steel has arrived. The erection is starting to go on. It's popping up on the site. They're placing the walls for the gym, and moving along well. Finally getting to that point where we're seeing that progress as well in the vertical stage of the project. So subject to questions, that's the update for this month.
How's the William Walker process going? Have you gone through land use yet?
Yes. Yes.
We completed that. We got our land use order. It was like September, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a joint land use hearing with Tualatin Hills Parks and Rec District.
Yeah, the city was really pleased, and I mean, the planning commission was really pleased, and
So right now we're in
no big
kind of the midst
surprises.
of
Yeah.
permitting. We've submitted site development permits, submitted the building permit application for our site. As we noted, it goes out for bid this week, so we'll get bid results in January. So.
We have a design in with Washington County for the new intersection, and we hope to have an approval of that here shortly. It's gone through a couple of reviews, so I think we'll have that narrowed down to a point where we can put that one to rest. I think the next really big issue for us in terms of being able to stay on track is to be able to remove the trees in the grove there where the access drive is going to go through. And the thing that's driving that right now is the raptors roosting something requirements. So if there are raptors roosting in any of the trees, we can't touch them. And that season starts in February, I believe. So we need to have the trees down by January. And so we're working through the city site development group to get that permit to move forward.
From the city standpoint, I could add that we were really grateful that the applications came in so early. It was wonderful not to have the pressure of trying to get everything approved, but June 15th, and we
Right.
want to start construction. So thank you, and really good job getting the applications in early and very well done.
So the delay that we had, while we really didn't want it, turned out to be a blessing in disguise because there were so many coordination issues to deal with.
So we've got Hazeldale up on the screen there. You can see a little difference from the one wall that's up there now in the pictures to what's going on today.
Now it's going forward.
We were deconstructing.
Yeah, this is just last
Oh,
week.
okay. All right.
This is what? This is just from last week. Okay.
See that gym wall go up. Where's it at? Come on.
That was Monday
Oh, here it goes.
of this week.
Bang, bang.
Right.
Wow.
They had a few difficulties. They had some issues with getting the steel delivered as well, and then the large crane apparently is only one of two in the Portland area of that size to set those walls. And so it was.
It's a good looking school.
With the with the rain that happened, that crane was encumbered at other sites, so it took a little while to get it down here as well.
Makes sense.
But overall, they seem to have a good push on the project and moving well and working schedule-wise. All right, and then Steve's going to play the part of Maureen tonight, as she couldn't join us.
I don't know if I can get as short as Maureen or as good looking as Maureen, but she is up in North Bethany helping TV FNR maybe soothe some fears for the folks up in North Bethany. They had their third arson up there last weekend in the new home, so the TV FNR is having a community meeting at Springville K8 this evening. So I said I would pinch hit for her here tonight. And of course it happened when we had our first public visitor. So thank you, Paul, for taking care of that. So you see the materials that our communications team has put together. It really is nice and, again, encapsulating all the different projects that are going on. It's a pretty easy read. I think you'll all appreciate how Carl chose to stand next to Don in the Hazeldale picture, so he could show how much taller he is than Don.
Okay, my wife saw that same picture before I got home because Tara posted it on her Twitter and Facebook account. It's like, nice position next to the superintendent.
I gotta get Don a stool.
And I don't know if we said this last time, but the groundbreaking ceremony was, I think, a big hit with the community. And they had kids come up and talk about what they're looking forward to. And it was really, really neat. And as Carl pointed out, you give a kid an opportunity, they will tell you the truth. And every single one of them wants to know. You know, there was a few things that were unique each one, but the universal was, I want to know what the playground's going to be like. And they were very keen on what that was going to be. So it was a very nice event. So that's it, and if there's other things that you would like to know about what we're doing, I'm more than happy to try and track that information down and let you know.
Any other questions on the communications piece? No.
One thing I will say about communication with respect to William Walker, I said we're trying to get the trees down in January, and we won't start, people won't see anything happening until April at the earliest. And so there may be some angst on why you chopping trees down, what's going on. The park's going to be fenced off. It's going to be looking, kind of thing. In our meeting today with THPRD, they are putting up a brought to you by the 2010 bond or whatever date it was. This is our project. Here's our schedule. Things like that. We're going to consider putting up something for us as well at that time to kind of communicate, hey, we're not just taking trees down to take trees down. There really is something coming. We're excited. We're 2 agencies delivering on bond projects. We can't wait to bring them to you, things like that.
Okay. So we're moving right along. The next item on our agenda is we need to elect a vice chairperson. So as you recall, with the charter change, the committee that was updated last year by the school board, it called for a vice chair who will then assume the chair position after my term is done. So, do we have any nominations
I would like to nominate Cheryl Tweedy. She's been on our committee since the beginning, as a few of us have.
I second.
I mean, I don't want to ask, but I probably should ask if you accept.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
No, don't ask.
I would be pleased to serve, yes, thank you.
Any discussion?
Yay?
Yay, I think Cheryl's a great choice. The remaining original member who is not now chair or have been chair and still on the committee, so. You should probably vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
It's not on the agenda, but I had sent out the draft report. I didn't receive any comments, so I'm going to assume that silence is agreement, and we'll submit it to the staff and get it on the next school board agenda. With that, I think we can wrap up our business and.
Great. So, and I believe next school board meeting is the 11th of December, is that correct, right? So we'll have it there with the report and submit that for you once we have that, Brian.
Okay.
I have the draft. We call that complete, and we'll go ahead and submit. Okay, perfect. So just before we go on the tour, Leslie's going to take us through the school and show us what we have out here. Very proud of this school, as you should be in your participation in that. Before we do that, our next meeting is 29th of January, and I thought maybe just a chance to talk about agenda for that meeting, if there's any staff products that you want us to deliver to the committee. So I'll throw that out for discussion. I'll open up with one thing. I think looking at the past agendas, there's the piece of the bond that's being completed that's the Future Ready piece, and I don't know that we've had them in to talk with you for quite a while, and I might suggest that would be a good topic as well.
Yeah, that seems good to me. It has been a while since I've been here.
Before we do the tour, can we get a status of where we are at the close out of this contract and what's still pending as we're walking around? Thank you, finish my one.
Sure.
Are we done with Hoffman, or are they still doing some work?
No, Hoffman is still doing punch list work.
60% of which is done, though.
Yes, 60% is done. We're looking at probably completing everything by middle of January. We're in the middle of closeout, we've got almost all of the documents done there. So we just have to finish the punch list and stuff.
And closing out the champion and everything we've done there and stuff.
Right.
What's the status on the roof? Last time there was discussion about the roof.
We have 3 areas that need to get replaced and are going to be replaced in the summer. The contractor has taken out a bond for that work. Snyder, yes. So.
Is Hoffman giving you any impressions of any claims related, when someone pays a lot of money to redo things, that could get sticky? Have all the subbies released and there's no claims from any of the subs at this point?
Correct.
Good.
All right, any other questions or any other agenda items?
No agenda items. I was just curious on the tour. Is the auditorium done?
It's not quite.
Can we see it?
We can see it though. Yeah.
Certainly, yeah.
I thought we'd start there, we'd go through the band room and into the stage, and then you can look at the entire auditorium from there. And then we'll go up the trade elevator to the second floor and go around there, and you can see the culinary space and the science classrooms.
All right.
I had a quick question based on the person that came today. So I thought she mentioned that there was money in the plan for climate control, or is there? Or?
No, so we're doing work in the Sunset Auditorium. It does not include seat replacement or the climate control in there as well.
Okay.
We're doing mainly safety items. We're doing some changes and upgrades to the stage itself. We're doing mounting bars and rigging improvements around the auditorium, and we're doing aisle lighting as well for safety measures as well. Was there any?
And we already did a lot of work.
Okay.
With all of the lighting, almost all the lighting was replaced already, the house lighting and stage lighting.
It was
and the
nearly
lighting control.
$1 million.
Yeah, it was.
Was that in this program or was it prior? What?
Yeah, it was, we did it 2 summers ago.
Oh, okay.
It's really the only auditorium that's actually been touched yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And graded.
And is that true that that's the only non-climate controlled auditorium? Because I think
It's not
Beaverton
true.
doesn't have
I
climate
think-
control either. My
I think this is the only one that actually has air conditioning.
Westview. I believe that's.
What does? Oh,
Westview.
That wasn't
Westview.
true.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay,
Kind of
but I know Beaverton does not have.
so they do have air conditioning or not?
They do not have air conditioning,
No.
They do.
but there are other
People
schools that do not.
freezing, is that just because it's a controls issue? Or is there no heat?
I have not heard of a cold complaint there, so that was new.
Yeah.
Right, we've heard that from the parent group afterwards. During their performances, there was no complaints that made it out about the heat control in there as well. So we've checked the system, it is operational in those spaces. Now, I don't know, in a large auditorium on a cold night, if the heat down, is making it down to the floor and circulating well. There may be some small pockets of that, but as far as we know, the team's gone in there to make sure the system is working, it's operational in there, and we have heat to the space.
Yeah, I can speak to it a little bit too. I was principal there for several years, and I know it was 13 years ago, but those issues have not gone away. So the heat does work, but it's realistic with the sound issues. You can't have the heat running and performance happening.
Oh, wow.
One drowns out the other. So the sound needs to be improved, of which then we'd be able to have the heat system work. And it works. So often it's running for the show, then again at intermission, those types of things. But the two competing, and it is an older school.
Yeah, the fan noise.
Yeah.
So if they're successful in getting the sound on their own merits,
absolutely.
right, that would, at least in the cold months, improve that. It's the hot months that
Right.
they're having.
And also 14 years ago, we did replace all of the fabric on those seats in that theater. It was a long time ago, but they were original.
Yeah.
When I mean, they were 40 years old,
Wow.
and so they're only 14 years old now. But they are original
Yeah.
seats in there. We did redo the fabric and replaced a lot of springs in them and everything else. So I kind of like them. They're old
classic
school.
now, right? Yeah,
They're classics. You'd sell them for
And we
big money
do,
out
and
there.
of course, parts aren't available. We keep them up as best we can. We work hard to keep them in good condition, but it is quite an effort by the staff there as well to get
Yeah,
them
and
where they need to
she
be.
mentioned that she sent a letter out, and
We'll forward that to you again.
that was my question. I just don't know, as a public comment, are we to reply? Is somebody going to reply to that?
I need to, I dropped the ball on that.
No, that's fine. I'm not trying to.
So,
Yeah, I just don't know.
well, and they've also sent it to the school board.
Right, and Ann had replied to it as well.
So is it on the table for this to be dovetailed in, or no?
Well, we talked at our last meeting, which I think you
Yeah, I
missed,
couldn't make it.
about the future prioritization, and we all agreed that it's too early to start releasing those dollars.
Yeah.
And staff has started working on kind of a set of priorities or criteria that we use, and we asked staff to think about what would that process look like at the point where it makes sense to
Yeah.
start spending some
And
of that
yeah,
money.
I remember on the last one, we were trying to keep that kind of thing from running
Right.
away from itself, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, that's good, and it sounds like if they are successful, it sounds like they're getting close to the sound, that at least in the cold months,
more.
That's
you know, that might be fine for a while. So.
correct.
If they do raise the money for the sound, is that delegated to your office to install as a funded thing, or do they self-install? How's that? And how do you coordinate that?
No, we'll ask them to come to us with those funds, and we can arrange that as well.
So you'll do that?
Right.
So as a organization, so to speak, what would you do to make a satisfied customer in this case? I mean, I heard that the heat could work and the sound could work better. Is there anything else that you think to make that, your constituents happy? Is there a game plan? Or is that it just impossible?
I don't think it's impossible, it just needs to be identified if it's this group who's going to make that a priority in remaining funds, it was communicated to them that the decision most likely could not be made until at least 2021, until ACMA was complete, before this committee would begin to entertain how those additional resources would be utilized.
So they've already.
Yeah, they've heard the
They've already
timeline,
done that, okay.
and they're
Right.
aware of that, and so it was nice to have Linda come express
Yeah.
concern. It was our first public testimony too.
Yeah, I
so
know.
it was
I know,
like-
that's why I didn't want to just
Right.
let it
And
let it die.
and they've also communicated with staff. We're communicating back to them as well. We're trying to make sure that the existing facility as it is in the best condition it can, and putting that effort into it to address that heat issue and the existing parameters that we can, make sure the seats are in good shape as well, their other concern as well. And this is one of those things that certainly it's a legitimate need. So there's certainly no one here that's saying that this doesn't need to happen. It's just a matter of, in the priorities of the program, hard decisions to make about how we use the scarce resources we have as we finish out this bond.
Yeah, I agree, but like I said, it's good, it'd be nice to know what their dream is, you always want to see what their
Right.
goals are, what would make them happy, and
Right.
figure that out, put numbers to it, then you prioritize. You go with the
Right.
things.
Right.
But her presentation started with, we actually need a wholesale refurbishment of the auditorium. That was the opening statement.
Their letter that comes does not necessarily put it in priorities, but I think it's pretty easy to get out what they want out of that. The first priority is the air conditioning, number 2 is the seating, and then I think 3 is the sound system, which they're pursuing because of the dollar value is something that they can reach for. The other 2 pieces are too expensive, and really that is our responsibility more than it is it's not something that we should saddle a parent group with necessarily. And I think other than that, the stage improvements we're doing, I think, goes a long ways to improve that piece of the auditorium.
They had all of their stage lighting, back of house lighting, all of those lighting upgrades in that 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It was an incredibly old system that we had to end up doing much more wiring there than we had anticipated.
Yeah.
And they have great drama department, it's really good.
Yeah.
And the auditorium upgrades that you'll start to see more of as we're rolling some out this next summer are all about safety. They're getting those riggings correctly set up, and even signage and just the conditions that are not safe corrected. We did do an entire study of all of the auditoriums and their needs, and then we prioritized those based on safety, because that was the bond kind of goal, was safety of the auditorium. But we do have that body of work there, the assessment of what the systems, each one of the high schools could stand to be improved, and the AV systems in almost every school could stand.
Thanks.
Okay. We ready for a tour?
Yeah, you're ready.
Leslie, you're the official tour guide.